Hello, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to thank you. Can you hear me? I want to thank you for being here today with us. I'm Anna Manfredi, and here with me is there is chief of design office. I 7 years in the human resource department, and my role is to. Okay, now maybe can you hear me better? Okay, my role is to manage the recruitment and process in Dallara, and of every employee inside the company. So for me, it's very interesting and important try to understand which is the best place for every person in the company. Because as you can imagine, over time, no. People desire and expectation change. So I try to, in my work, I try to find these realize them, and I do with all the people inside the company. So my role is to connect with people, talk with people, to understand Okay. I want to start the vision and the mission of our company. These are the thoughts and the words of our founder and president, Mr. Gianpaolo Dallara, and of our CEO, Mr. Andrea Pontremoli. So our vision to invest every day in a sustainable way for a better future and give support, security and solidarity to its people, its families and its territory with appreciation and gratitude. Our mission is to design and produce the fastest and safest cars in the world. So you can see that the main important things for us are definitely our business, so the development of our competencies and our products, but for sure also our people, our community and our territory. Now we want to share with you a video that we made this year, because this year we celebrate our 15th birthday. So we will share with you the video.
Ho studiato ingegneria aeronautica al Politecnico di Milano, ero destinato in aeromacchi, poi in quel momento Ferrari chiedeva di giovani ingegneri. Ho cominciato là, ho preso il virus delle competizioni, avevo fretta, dopo un anno e mezzo sono andato in Maserati perché avevo l'occasione di seguire le corse dal vivo. Poi però la Maserati ha smesso di correre, sono andato in Lamborghini. Lamborghini non poteva fare le competizioni e allora ho detto devo farlo da solo.
Abbiamo pensato di raccogliere in una frase quello che è stato il nostro percorso dal 1972 al 2022 e la frase è: radici e futuro crescono insieme. Radici perché noi abbiamo le radici nel nostro territorio, abbiamo le radici perché non disdegniamo il nostro passato, anzi impariamo da quello che abbiamo fatto nel passato e guardiamo sempre comunque a come costruire il futuro. E queste due cose devono crescere insieme, deve crescere insieme il nostro territorio, insieme la nostra capacità di costruire il futuro.
Guarda i primi 50 anni della nostra azienda con la serenità e con l'orgoglio per aver costruito una realtà solida e ben fatta. Penso ai prossimi 50 anni con entusiasmo e curiosità, cercando di immaginare come potremo operare e vivere bene nel futuro che ci aspetta.
both. So, okay. Just a short overview. Now we grow a lot in the last people, almost that's now, and caused to the pandemic, but we are still growing a lot. We have now a lot of projects, a lot of activities, and we are hiring the average age is very low in Dallara, is around 33 years. This is because Mr. Giampaolo Dallara believes a lot young people potential, so he always wanted to invest in young engineers with a great desire to learn new things and do new things every day. Is composed by 5 companies in 2 different countries. So we have 4 companies in Italy and 1 in the United States. So just a short overview, the first one is Dallara Automobili, which is linked to our engineering and development part. Fabbrica Dallara is linked with our road car. So in this company, which is in Varano, still in Varano, the Melegari, we built and sell our road car, the Dallara Stradale. We have the Dallara Academy, which is a building linked to education, there is an exposition area, a sort of museum, even though Mr. Dallara doesn't like this word so much. We have Dallara Compositi, another company near Parma, which is linked to the manufacturing area, so is focused on the production with using in particular composite materials. And we have the Dallara USA in Indianapolis, which as you can imagine is focused on the American motorsport competition. Okay, this is the Dallara campus, in our headquarters in Valano de' Melegari. So we grown a lot as far as regard people, but as you can see also as far as regard new buildings. So we're all over Varano right now. And every building is linked to a different competencies, a different competence. So we have the aerodynamic building, the department, we have the research and development building, we have the simulator, the vehicle dynamics building, and so on. So we grown a lot, even as far as regard the logistic part.
For starting because cranking the engine is always the most difficult part, and when you are running it's more easy. We have here a slide with a lot of badges, the Dallara milestone. Literally, if we had to speak to comment all of these, it will take a lifetime. We have just said that Dallara is turning 50 this year. And so we are not going to comment every of these important milestone for our company, but let me spend some word on the one that I believe, at least in my opinion, are most relevant for the growth and for the story of our company. It all began in 1972. The very first sport car autonomously designed by Dallara Automobili, and you can grab some of the distinctive lines that draw of the design. And all this, by the way, this little gem is not just a memory. It is still alive. It's one of the cards that you can see in the Dallara Academy at the very beginning of the exposition, by the way. But after this important start, the main focus for Dallara was the F3 market. F3 at that time was a very important school for young drivers. It is still now, with many differences compared to the past. What was the market at that time? In the 80s and early 90s, there were a lot of companies present in the Formula 3 market, especially English companies. We are speaking about very important names in motorsport. Just to name a few, it was Lola, it was Renard, Ralt, other companies coming from France, Monsieur Martinique, for instance. And it was a very tough battle. The market was divided by all these companies, but even though somebody was calling them garagisti, we have to remember that UK people are the story of motorsport. You have to keep in mind that motorsport is a very, let's say, conservative, traditional environment, and so even the Italian customer, before trusting Dallara, before switching from imagine a Ralt or a Renard to a Dallara car, well, it took time. So what Mr. Dallara did at that time? He started working. He started working on the factors that were, let's say, affecting the performance most. And this is why in 1984, 1985, January move, he started in Varano. Dallara was the first company in Italy to have a rolling and the first Formula 3 monocoque made out of Fabo was really we were coming from cars and thought that were made out of heavy tubes, and so the improvement literally. We don't the reliability of the car was much better than before, and the market share that Dallara was covering was bigger. But in the UK, it was still, let's say, an affair between Renard, Ralt, and just a few Dallaras. What happened in 1994 was with a specific update kit for the new car. By the way, speaking about update kits, nowadays the focus is mainly on cost. So we have single make series. We try to reduce testing because the time you spend in testing is a cost. It was not this way at the time. At the time, you had one new car every year. During the season, like it's happening now only in Formula One, because only Formula One, even with the budget cap, can afford this kind of research and improvements. At that time, even in F3, you had 2-3 kits per year that were meant to improve the performances, to adapt a little bit better your car, because of course you need a different car in Monza and in Monte Carlo, or in Po and in Fuji. So with one of the update kit that Dallara brought to Silverstone, 2 Dallara cars run by a team that was considered, let's say, a medium experienced team, with 2 drivers that were considered at that time middle field, let's say, were able to cover the front row of the starting grid of the GP in front of the F1 public that was there for Formula One. What caused this? Well, it was a really disruptive moment for Formula 3 because in 1 week time, in Varano de Melegari, where Dallara is based, a procession of UK-based team was created, and they were queuing up to get a car, to get a Dallara car. It was really the beginning of the Dallara monopoly in Formula 3. And this is something that gave a lot of energy, of course, I'm speaking also about financial energies, because the F3 market in those years was immense. F3 was present in Europe. There were championships in every nation. We had an Italian one with 20 to 30 cars, a French one, a German one, a very, very important one, another one in the UK. But then South America was very important. You had Brazil and Argentina with a lot of cars. And Japan was really in love with Formula 3. So every year Dallara was able to design and manufacture, say, 80 to 100 cars for many, many years. Leaving the 80s, the next important step, the next important milestone I want to comment with you is the first Indy 500 victory. It was in 1998. What happened? In the late 90s, there were divergent vision between a lot of American teams and the series organizer. And so two series were created. One was named CART, C-A-R-T, where all the most important team with most story, with the most relevant driver were racing. And the other one was the IRL, Indy Racing League. It was managed by Tony George, that at that time he was the owner of the circuit of Indianapolis. And he traveled all the world to try to gather manufacturers that were able to design and manufacture cars that were meant to race on ovals only. So CART was mainly road circuit, normal, conventional circuit rather than some ovals. And IndyCar was oval only. Dallara was one of these manufacturers. But as it was tough in F3, for Indy it was a little bit the same. The very first car that we made was significantly overweight. We had no historical data in terms of performances, lap time, corner speeds, behavior of the car, and so the target for the aerodynamic development was not really centered. And what happened was that in the first year we competed, it's been almost a total disaster. What Mr. Dallara did, again, just kept working. When you are in difficult situations, you have to do simple things. And so he started working on weight reduction, because it was clear that it was part of the deal to get more performance. He redefined the aerodynamic targets and spent many hours in the wind tunnel to try to get the right balance between drag and downforce. But in order to do this, you had to invest a lot of time and money also in vehicle dynamics, because it's through simulation that you can get a more precise idea of how much is important to gain downforce compared to losing drag. And so the victory in the Indy 500 in 1998 was really, let's say, the end of this process. It was the demonstration to all the people involved that Dallara could make a good product with important performance. And not only we were working on performance. Performance is just one part of a winning car. But it's not the only one. A car needs to be reliable. The old adagio, you first have to finish if you want to finish first. So reliability, The other important part is quality of the spare parts, especially in the American races. When they hit the wall, they normally make huge damages to the car. And so the last thing a mechanics want to do when he has to rebuild the car, half car or the complete car in a hurry, is fighting with the side posts, with the engine cover, with the floor, because it's not fitting. So one key part of our job was to make sure that the quality of the part was good, high, and constant throughout all the production. And it's been really nice that it was with Eddie Cheever to achieve this, because in the end, Eddie is the driver that most embodies the old world, Rome, Italy, and the new world, America, United States. So we all remember Mr. Dallara being impressively emotional for the victory, and Eddie as well. Now let's make a big jump to 2017. You can see the image of the Dallara Stradale. Really we can see a dream come true for Mr. Dallara. It's a dream of a lifetime. He always had dreamt of a car with characteristics very similar to a competitive object, so to a racing car. And so he was dreaming of a very low-weight car with not huge power, essential, clean, with just what you need to have fun. And the result is something that, let's say, is really much, much closer to a race car compared than to a normal, let's say, GT car. And again, as well in life, the same is in racing and the automotive industry. It is not quantity that makes the difference, it's balance. So if you have a light car with not a huge engine, but very balanced with a good handling, you can achieve performance that are really impressive. So let's leave apart all this because this is story anyway, and let's now speak about what we are now. We are made out of 3 business units. Racing, of course, the automotive one, and one related to aerospace and defense, which is a very recent constitution. Just to comment a little bit, racing, okay. Where is Dallara in racing? Well, directly Dallara figures with some car that is used in the endurance racing, so let's say Le Mans prototype car, but we are present as a supplier of teams or other customer in most of the motorsport segment, especially in the Formula market. So in Formula One we have an important collaboration with Team Haas. We are the designer and manufacturer of the Formula 2 car, of the Formula 3 car. We are supplying the Japanese organization with Super Formula and the Super Formula Light, which is a little bit of an F3 car. And then in Indianapolis, we have 2 series, the IndyCar, and the other one is what we call Indy Light, so a feeder series for Indy. Just to name a few. We are involved in other important projects in Formula, where companies that are running important series, like Formula E, are working together with Dallara very closely to design and develop parts of their car. So racing, anyway, it's our root, it's our origin, it's a big part of our job. The automotive industry is something that has always been present in Dallara, but it's only after, let's say, at the end of the 90s that it became a really important part of our job, and you can see here one of the cars that has been more important in the development of this business unit, because we were deeply involved in the design of the first Bugatti, the Bugatti Veyron. I mean, the first of this new era, of course. And it's a relationship that we still try to keep working hard to show what is the big potential of the technologies that we have derived from racing in the motorsport, in the automotive industry. For what concerns aerospace, well, this is really a new word. It is something that will become more and more important in the next years, not only for really what is happening in the space, but generally speaking, the air mobility will become something that in the next decades will be more and more important for even, let's say, the common people like us. We don't know exactly what's going to happen in terms of, let's say, road mobility, for all the challenges that we have in front with electric cars, with pollution, with generation of clean energy. And so why not? Aerospace could be a really important part of the automotive industry in the next years. Let's switch to the next one. So after what we are doing now, how we are set internally. The business unit are, let's say, normally receiving a request from a customer. They start discussing the request with the board of directors, and then if there is a green light, we have all the departments involved that are asked to define their activities. So we have program managers, designer. Do we need for this project some aerodynamic staff? Yeah, so aerodynamic department is involved. Shall we do some structural analysis? No, it's not in our, let's say, it's not from the request of our customer, okay. So that's it, but let's say we collect from every department all the needed competencies. We put them together in a project team, and everything starts there. One second only. Okay. Why our customer are looking for us? For our expertise, for our core competencies. We are speaking about this mainstream. So in terms of design, the experience we have in motorsport is leading us to be familiar with what is called lightweight design and structural optimization with many different tools. In any case, we try to approach every problem in a holistic way. Why do we do so? Simply because it's only keeping in mind all the process and all the problem and all the factors that are influencing performance that you can do a better job and a more complete one. And in order to do this, we work on vehicle dynamics, on powertrain installation. We are, let's say, a lot of our guys that are working on aerodynamics, which is one of the oldest expertise we have in Dallara. A part of us is now caring about the electronic architecture and all the stuff that is related to integrating the electric and electronic system in cars, systems that are more and more present nowadays. And then, of course, we have production capability, and we can take care of full vehicle indoor and outdoor testing. This is to say that sometimes we are asked by our customer to cover a small part of the process, so maybe design only. Sometimes we design and make pre-series prototypes. Some other time we have a bigger part in the project, and we can cover the entire development process until the let's say series production. Wow, we skipped one, sorry. I'm going resonant with the...
Okay.
No, we cannot do it. 1 second, sorry. Just a few words. Okay. Maybe the hand of God helped me with the slide. Anyway, just quickly on the process. So you can see here research, design and simulation, prototype, validation, series production. It is a little bit what we have already anticipated in the last slide. But this is just to say that imagine we can start from scratch. We can start from a shape, from an idea. The first thing we have to do is try to give body, to give thickness to this face, to this idea. And so we start designing, but the designer is just a part of, let's say, a small part of the process, because immediately after you have given shape to your idea, you have to involve all your colleagues that are working on materials, on structural analysis, on aerodynamics, on vehicle dynamics, really to try to respect all the needs of everybody in order to get to the right goal. After this phase, normally there is the need of a prototype, which sometimes is just tested internally. Sometimes you need to test it on a circuit. Sometimes you need to cover some homologation test because the regulation requires it. For all our formula we have to stick to the FIA regulation, and so we have to homologate structural parts that are very important for safety. And the same applies for the automotive industry. Let's say the different regulation in each country prescribe a lot of different norms that have to be respected, and so you have to make calculation rather than crashing or statically test all the structure that are required to do so. And when we speak about series production, well, let's say Dallara does normally small production. So we are not in the range of millions of parts. The cars where we work on are normally very special car in a niche market. And so let's say if we are speaking about Formula, we have in mind 20 Formula 2, 30 Formula 3, 40, 50 Indy cars. If we are speaking about GT car, then maybe we go to 100, 200, 500 cars, but these are the numbers, so not millions of parts, which is very important to be kept in mind because the approaches are completely different. Even the technologies that you are using to produce the part are very different. If you have to approach the production of 1 million parts, then you can afford, for instance, much bigger cost for toolings, but then you can lower significantly the cost of the single part, which is something that you cannot afford when you're speaking about 200, 300, 400 components. Very quickly, let's go to the next step. Just to make an example, from physics to our people, what you see here is, let's say, a number of equations that we use to describe the performance of the car. And these are the equations that regulates acceleration, braking, and cornering speed. Why are we showing them? Because because all people present in Dallara are involved in different parts of this equation. You see max acceleration, you see the aerodynamic performances, so downforce rather than drag. You see the coefficient of friction of the tires, all the people relevant for tire science are involved. You see power and efficiency of the transmission, so powertrain, and all the other stuff which is related to mass, to braking, to letting all these disciplines working together are relevant, and most important of all, you have to be able to manufacture this part and to test them. I wanted to leave the discussion with Anna again now, but first let me quote a few sentences that Mr. Dallara is using very frequently, because it's not only important the engineering aspect, but it's important the way you do it. One sentence that Dallara uses very, very often is ragazzi, fate le cose con amore. So, let's say, make things with love, more or less. What does it mean? If you love what you are doing, you will do it better. Why? Because love is giving everything to a person, to a job, to something, and having it back all, by the way. So what he wants us to do is to design and work in a, let's say, more conscious way. One very other important sentence of Mr. Dallara: sbagliamo, ma sbagliamo in fretta. So if we have to make it wrong, let's make it wrong, but quickly. What does it mean? He's a very practical person. So sometimes if you had to wait to perfectly understand the physical phenomenon, you would never start studying it. So the easiest way is let's try to prototype it, let's try to reproduce the phenomenon, and then we start to understand. Is what we have done a solution? No? Okay, let's do, but quickly, another one, and test, and test, and test. And this is something that is very, very important for, let's say, the growth of the company, for the speed that you have to have in mind when you work here. So not only engineering, but values also.
Yes. Thank you, Andrea. So I want to tell you something more about our recruitment methods in Dallara. So definitely for us, the technical part is very important. We are a technical company, so academic background and professional experience, technical knowledge, technical skills are important, but for us is very important the personal sides and the part related to values. So we were always looking for what we call the Dallara person. So who is the Dallara person? Dallara person is a person who somehow fully or partially reflects the characteristics and the values of Mr. Giampaolo Dallara. So a determined, motivated person who never feels arrived, aspire to learn every day, and at the same time humble. So this is the best thing for us, and these are our corporate values: humbleness, integrity, curiosity, and Dallara people. We are a community that invests every day in a sustainable way for a better future. Now we want to share with you our video on corporate values.
c'è chi cerca di comportarsi in modo di fare il bene prossimo e quello degli altri, e questo è il saggio. Essere saggi conviene anche dal punto di vista egoistico, stai meglio anche tu. Io mi sento in pace con gli altri e sono convinto di avere anche pochi nemici, insomma, questo qui mi fa vivere bene. Dobbiamo cercare di immaginare a come tentare di fare bene quello che sarà necessario fare domani.
Persone che ci mettono il loro pensiero, che ci mettono il loro ragionamento.
Irrigare la terra per fare in modo che ognuno di voi che lavorate lì possiate crescere.
Mettersi a disposizione per permettere agli altri di diventare grandi.
Disegnare un futuro dove gli altri vogliono stare. E se tu sei capace di fare questo, gli altri faranno in modo che quel futuro diventi vero veramente.
Saper spronare le persone, motivarli.
Insieme verso lo stesso obiettivo.
Dallara era velocità e performance.
I think he's flexible. I think they've got great engineering talent.
Ciascuno di noi ha le proprie competenze e per fare un buon risultato deve lavorare insieme agli altri.
Questo rapporto di vicinanza non può essere neanche determinato soltanto da un rapporto di lavoro, c'è la voglia anche di rendere qualcosa.
It's not only a business, obviously, but you gotta have passion too.
You know, I enjoyed his passion for the sport, but he has a passion for life as well.
Ma la qualità è quella umana, diciamo.
Umana e genuina, che gli ha permesso che tutto gli passasse un po' sopra.
Tutte le volte che pensi che sia facile, c'è qualcuno a dimostrarti che di facile non c'è assolutamente niente.
E a volte si fanno delle cose giuste, a volte sbagliate.
Quando hai fatto un errore, tu devi cercare di capire perché l'hai fatto e non ripeterlo più.
Però sei parte dell'insieme, cioè ti permette di assorbire gli alti e i bassi, perché è importante anche assorbire gli alti.
Riuscire a immaginare quello che dovremo fare, che non è sempre facilissimo, è una bella sfida, insomma, è un altro gran premio da fare, forse il più importante.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
Okay, we have done. Thank you very much. Now, if you have any question, we will be happy to answer them. Silence.
Difficult to speak after Mr. Dallara words, but anyway, feel free. Even in Italian, of course, if you want. Prego. Okay. Well, it is. If I'm thinking to a young engineer, for instance, if I'm thinking specifically to motorsport, I always make this comparison. If you are good in Italy, we finish university at the age of 23, 24. Good, okay. 25, okay. Oh, remember that there was the military service years ago. So, okay. Anyway, but in the UK, for instance, you have people attending racetracks when they are 20, 21. They are, let's say, much faster than us in arriving to this kind of market. So, if your goal is to be involved on track in Formula One, for instance, it is essential to anticipate as much as possible, let's say, I'm not saying the end of school, because university is important, but at least your presence on track. which could also be meaning studying abroad and having even more opportunities, because it is true that UK universities are, let's say, offering a lot in this respect. So it's something that, that we value a lot. Just to give you a reference, in the last year, I would say that 40% of the guys that starting an internship in the design office are coming from foreign university. Thanks to you. This is not to say, by the way, guys, that Italian university is not okay. I believe a lot in Italian university. And it is true that the level of preparation that the university in Italy is giving you is even too much compared to what you need in the work environment. So depending on the role that you are going to cover, Italian university would be perfect rather than even too much. What do I mean? If we think to CFD simulation, aerodynamics, structural analysis, material science, it is tremendously important to have a good, let's say, theoretical basis. And so university is important, really important. For other roles, having practical knowledge is even more important. For the guys that are designing part, maybe the more circle is not as important as knowing what is an O-ring, a sege, what is a spline, what is the best steel you can use today. So depending on what you are going to do, the approach can vary a little. Dai, forza ragazzi, un po' di... Possiamo rispondere anche a domande personali, eh? Prego.
Posso parlare in italiano?
Certo.
Come ha iniziato lei ad inserirsi in questo mondo dopo gli studi?
No, I will answer in English anyway. Well, I live in Piacenza. And I studied at Parma, at the University of Parma. And after the military service, I had really, at that time, no time to look for a job. But it was something that happened 22 years ago. So at that time, when you were finished Ingegneria, it was pretty easy to find a job immediately. Well, it is a little bit like this today even, but anyway, even more easy. Dallara called me, surprisingly, and so I decided to start, to try, and really that's it. And then I felt in love with this word. Well, I was passionate of motorsport. One of my first memory in my life, it was 1976, Nürburgring, the crash of Lauda. I was 3 years old at that time, and I was looking races with my father. So I love motorsport, of course, but as a student in engineering, I never imagined I could have deserved this, let's say.
Okay. Other question? Can finish even now. Thank you very much. Enjoy this day.